Hi, everybody. I am Beth. I'm going to talk about including Libby. So how many people have actually heard of or seen hackers? Raise your hand. Oh, thank God. Okay, so there's a few people. How many people have heard of or seen sneakers? Yes! Okay, audience participation is going to work. Oh, except now I'm all locked out. What's my password? It's long. So forgive me, there's actually one slide that I have that was meant to be animation, but Wi-Fi is not loving me today. So who am I? You're probably thinking, who is this crazy person? Aside from the fact that my fabulous screen matches my Cthulhu, who else am I? I am a product manager for an autonomous driving vehicle company called Polysync. I have no relationship to Tesla or some of the things that they're doing, but I'm sure they're fine. I've been in the tech industry as a product manager, just as a product manager, not just tech in general, for 15 years. That means that I've made it 5 years longer than most women. Most women opt out at 10 because they're just sick of it and they don't feel included and they don't feel like they have a say or they can make a difference. They hit the glass ceiling, they're like, screw it, out. So I have been lucky enough that I have had people who have been in dev, ops, and security. The InfoSec community and the ops community have been tremendous for me. They have been so helpful, they have been supportive, they have been kind, they have introduced me to people, they have backed me when people have come after me for a variety of different reasons. You're not technical enough, you don't know what you're doing, you haven't been in the industry long enough. I have so much love for this community, it is not even funny, which is why I want to make it so much better. The other thing I've done is I've assisted in planning the very first HeroCon. I'm pretty proud of that. I worked with Sarah, that's how we met. That was a Women in InfoSec Con during DEF CON. I believe it was one of the first ones. So you had QueerCon, you had HeroCon, and there weren't a whole lot of options if you weren't within a particular box. And so it was great to have more options for people that were safe spaces. People need safe spaces so that you can have some people, as Dawn mentioned, with unconscious bias, sometimes you need people and you need that recharge so that you can be around people who are like you. But what I'm going to spend more time talking about is how you reach out to people who are different. And there isn't a single thing that I'm going to talk about here that is easy. And there are going to be days where you can't do it. You don't feel like you've done it. And there's going to be days where you feel like you've taken 10 steps backwards. Totally fine. That's life. It happens. Nobody's perfect. The point is, be aware of it and do the very best that you can. So I talked a lot there, didn't I? And that was just all about me. So why is inclusion important? So today, InfoSec is 11% women. I think I looked last year and it was 10%. Woohoo, you gained 1%. 1%. But here's the thing. I'm not going to talk to you about cis white women. I feel like if you only talk about cis white women, you are not including all negatively impacted groups. And all negatively impacted groups look and feel and have all the same things that cis white women. So I understand I'm up here as a woman talking about this, but I am not just talking about me, and I am not making it about people who look just like me. I'm explicitly not. So please, if you take it in that way, shape, or form, let me know. Raise your hand and go, dude, what are you talking about? So some of the groups that are included in this, but this is not the complete group, are people regardless of abilities. I like to pace a lot, so it looks like I'm bouncing around, but it's because the mic doesn't come with me, so I apologize. I'm going to try to center myself there. So people regardless of ability, which I'm one of those people who's a little ADD. I like to move around. I have a hard time sitting down. It doesn't mean that I can't do the job. You have people who are visually impaired, who are hearing impaired. You have people who are colorblind. You have people who have mental illness, PTSD. You have people who have hidden illnesses, people who might have lupus or other things, and you can't see that, and you don't know what their struggles are or why they're doing the things that they are on a given point in time, each and every day. So you also have people who are single parents, and they can't actually be in the office from 8 to 5 because they have other responsibilities. Does that mean that they can't meet the minimum qualifications by any stretch of the imagination to do the job? Raise your hand if you think the answer is yes. I don't want to see any hands. So one of the things that with all of this I want people to start thinking about as you're on hiring committees and as you're doing other things, if you are helping to put together a job description for somebody within your group, think about what are the actual minimum qualifications. And you have to go back to that and make it things that are quantifiable and have absolutely nothing to do with that person as an individual, okay? The other thing is people regardless of sexual orientation. Okay, aside from the fact that this is a protected class and we're still talking about it and it's 2017, hurts my soul. But this is a for real thing. And this is something that people are often discriminated against, and they are excluded. They have glass ceilings because they are part of this. You should be able to express and be who you are regardless. Again, have you met the minimum qualifications to do the job? There is nothing about your sexual orientation that means that you cannot meet the minimum qualifications. Did I say it wrong?
No.
I'm like, you guys were laughing. And then you have people from all religious and ethnic backgrounds. Okay, so if you look at me, and then like if everybody were to come up here and put their arms up next to my arm, I would guarantee you there's not a single person who has the same color as me. Does that mean that there is any one person who is more qualified than the other to do their job? No. God, you guys are great at audience participation. I've made it so easy. And then the last one is veterans. So I kind of have a special place in my heart for veterans. I grew up in a bit of a rough area. And there were a number of people who were raised by single moms or who were just poor. So as you hit the age of 18, if you didn't have people who were helping to guide you, or you didn't, I have to go faster, or if you weren't doing the things that you needed to, it's entirely possible that the only option you had was to join the military at the age of 18, because that was all that you had. A lot of people view people who are military vets as like, hey, I like to go out and shoot people up. No, it's because they had no other choice. This is the option that they were given. So with that, they also didn't have the ability to network or do other things. So that's neat. I just described to you a whole lot of problems, didn't I? And you're probably thinking, oh my God, all I hear from Me Too and everything else is there's so many things, and you feel burdened by what you can't do and how you can't fix it. So the rest of the talk is all about the things that you can do. So let's talk about some things. And everybody has different abilities, so I tried to hit a broad stroke of things that you can do, depending on the time that you have and your abilities and what your interests might be. So there's mentoring. There's a number of groups that you can actually be a mentor for. There's Chick Tech, there's Black Girls Code. There's a number of different organizations. So attempt to get out of your comfort zone and mentor someone who isn't like you. That's going to give you that sense of appreciation for walking in their shoes and understanding some of the challenges that other people have that are different from the challenges that you have. We all have challenges, but it's good if you start to think about what everybody else is doing. There's also volunteering. So there are schools that are Title I schools. Does anybody know what a Title I school is? Okay, so typically a Title I school is a school that most of the kids, there's a large percentage of the population where the kids are, or their households are at poverty level, below, around, there's like this band there. And so they get government funding. With that, they have different programs that come in, like the SUN program. The SUN program is always looking for people who can come in and help them. So if you're part of a network, one thing that is super rad, and you are giving kids who wouldn't normally, banging things around, who wouldn't normally have the opportunity to have access to what we do in the InfoSec world, is let's say you have 10 people in your group, and they all have slightly different things that they love and that they have as skill sets. You can have once a month go in to the school and you can teach a class, nothing naughty, but you can teach a class to these kids and get them interested in what is going on. And that's something that you can do just from a volunteer perspective. Then you have open source projects. So sneakers, again, raise your hand how many people have seen sneakers. Awesome. So in sneakers, who is the person who identified where the key was to break the cryptographic code? Shout it out if you remember the name. Whistler. What was interesting about Whistler? Yes. So there's a thing called VPAT. And what that is a bunch of code and regulations to make things available for sight readers so that you have keystrokes for GUIs, etc. So think about it. If the team did not have Whistler, they couldn't have found the key. So you need people with different abilities. So think about some of your open source projects that you use, that you love, that you are part of every day, and see if you can start to integrate some of that code into it. When all else fails, you can donate money. B-sides, they have free tickets, but it is not free for people to be here. This space is not free. So giving money on a regular basis, you're allowing people to continue to come and network. You have people who have donation programs, and they have people who are underprivileged that can't go and donate or can't go and network. And so if you donate money to those conferences, then they get the opportunity to network. Networking. See how it all flowed? It's like I planned it. So with networking can be super scary. So what I would encourage you to do is to be the Kevlar vest for people. So if you have someone who's a little nervous about it, maybe they haven't networked because they feel different, they feel odd. So be that Kevlar vest. Let them know that it's safe. Create a safe space for them. The other thing that you can do is you can help people who have been hired to feel comfortable and heard. I think this is the only example I'm going to use Kate in, and just her name. So how many people have been in a room where you have someone like Kate who has said, hey, I think a great way to solve this problem is if we did X, Y, and Z? Crickets. Fred over here goes, do you know it'd be awesome? What if we did X, Y, and Z? And it was like, wow, that's amazing. Thank you, Fred. That is the coolest idea I've ever heard. And you're sitting there going, Kate just said that. And a lot of times you're like not sure what to say or do in that scenario. So one thing that you can do is go, Fred, that sounds like a great idea. And it sounds like everyone just like +1 Kate's idea, which was what you just said. So I wonder, how can we think about moving that forward? Kate, do you have any ideas for that? And if you don't, you know what, that's totally fine. Let's figure out how we can all do that together. So you're taking it back and you're bringing it back to Kate without calling her out and making her feel like, oh my God, someone just called me out, which could be a deterrent for her to throw ideas out in the future. You're making it a positive experience for Kate to speak up. Next, follow people who aren't like you on social media and stand in when they're being harassed. How often does this happen? That you see people who are being harassed and you're like, oh my God, they have to deal with this on a regular basis? You know what? It sucks. But here's the thing. Having a man go up against a man is far more impactful than a woman continuing to fight 20 men. Far more impactful. Follow them. Understand what the challenges are. Use their same language, but let them know that you're doing it for the purposes so that they don't have to take that emotional hit to do it themselves. So be that Kevlar vest for them. Having a white person go up against another white person, also far more impactful. And you're doing, again, that same thing where you're taking the hit so that they don't have to. Think about how it is to be in their shoes and how exhausting it is every single day to have to defend yourself and to have to say, what I'm doing is okay and I should be able to have this opinion. And we don't have Wi-Fi. This would have been a much cooler slide. It would have showed you that, from my perspective, if we all looked the same, if we were all the same, we'd get tired of looking at each other. It's actually a song quote, but I really believe that we get tired of looking at each other. There's actually this amazing site where you can actually get stock photos absolutely free for calling out women of color in tech chat. And so you can start to have that as a subtle thing in the background as you're doing your talks. And they have all the stock photos of a wide variety of people who are in conference room meetings, who are whiteboarding stuff, who are giving presentations, who come from all different backgrounds. Use it. Have it in your background. It doesn't always have to be, I don't know, He-Man or cat photos. So speaking of,